Welcome back to the Nose Plays Endless Space 2. We're going to continue part 3 of our combat tips today, as well as another 10 turns of gameplay with our Vaulter faction quest that we have started. This is just a little look at the most recent addition to our empire. So, one of the cool things about the Vaulter faction with the Argosy colonization method that they use is you have the ability to potentially snipe a lot of the better systems from the other players. The logistics aren't as important to Vaulters because of their portals, so they don't have to build an empire that is all in one spot. And that gives them the option to take systems like this one. So Sahara is an endless planet, and you can see it has some significant bonuses, particularly to industry and also to influence, which is really, really useful. So that is one way to deal with the Vaulter's lack of influence, to try to grab as many of these endless systems as you can. They are a little bit random, and you don't always get good ones or the ability to settle them very easily, but we did in this situation. So very nice hot system. Going to be a lot of industry produced in this system over the next 20 turns or so. We'll probably get quite a few system developments down, but let's see what we had left to do here. I believe we were waiting. Yes, we have an atmospheric curiosity that we are about to be able to search next turn when we finish this technology. So we're going to go ahead and just wait. So we'll just put you to sleep for a turn. And I don't think there was anything else of any significance that needed to happen. But here's just a quick peek at our empire and where we're at. And our laws, just to remind ourselves. And this is our fantastic level 1 system development. It looks like we're researching this technology here. So we'll have to figure out a new technology starting next turn. Let's go ahead and get started. Ah, yes, at the end of the turn we have our election. Okay. So, looking at the potential, we have 3 systems that will be voting. The pacifist party is going to be the secondary party. There's nothing we can really do to change that, but I think I will give my official support to the scientists to try to get them a little bit more approval? Approval is probably not the right word. Favor. I'm not sure what we would call this. Experience? Anyways, get them a little bit more of this so we can unlock some new laws. So we did actually unlock some new laws. We unlocked the Star Boogie Bill, and because the pacifists took power over the military party, we get their level 1 law. So I realized something that I kind of forgot. Let's go ahead and grab first contact with them. Got an empty construction queue here, and we now have the ability to colonize this planet. This is going to be a fantastic thing to do in this system, because we have 2 buildings that are going to give us a bonus based on having another planet. So we have the public-private partnerships. This is going to give us an additional 10 science. Xeno-industrial infrastructure is going to give us another 10 industry. And then our hero gives us 10 industry per anomaly. So we have 2 anomalies on this, so we're actually going to get a total of 30 industry and 10 science just for colonizing this planet. It's much better than anything else that we can currently do, so that's what we're going to go ahead and pursue at this time. We'll need to figure out a new technology. I have a feeling I know what I want to do with that. One thing that I just noticed it when we were zoomed out here, we have a ship down here. We created a second scout ship a while back, and I forgot all about it. But since our curiosities have improved, we've unlocked another one in this system as well that we can search. So we'll go ahead and do that. And we found more pirates. These pirates are actually equipped with some decent weapons. It looks like they're using missiles and kinetics, and they are also defended with hull plating. We're not going to stick around and let these pirates mess with us. I think we're actually going to, well, I may go here and shoot off some probes. That is unfortunate. Another pirate we'll need to deal with. This scout can go ahead and search this. And some influence, good. Maybe we should start considering doing stuff with our influence. So there's another curiosity over here that we need to go search. So we'll go grab that next. And we need to talk a little bit about the pirates that we have, that we've seen so far. They are not going to be... Our ship that we've created for the first set of pirates that we were dealing with, it was very well adapted to dealing with that particular pirate ship. It is not so adept at dealing with the current pirate ships that we've seen. We're going to have to find a better way to deal with them. Perhaps that involves us moving down this tree and grabbing efficient shielding. At which point today's combat tips can be specifically about discussing the differences between the attacker class hulls and the protector class hulls, and some of the unique uses and interactions that those particular ships have. I think that's a good plan. The other thing, we're producing quite a bit of influence. I think it would be wise to go ahead and start utilizing that influence. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up this technology, which will allow us to do some diplomacy with all those minor factions we've uncovered. And then we'll move into creating ships. And then we need to get some better weapons. And so we're going to go ahead and research this particular technology. I could research this one and get big data shipyards and give our ships some extra XP, which would essentially allow them to start at level 2 instead of level 1. However, the Vaulters have a unique version of this building that's much better than the standard building that you would get at this particular spot. And more importantly, the Vaulters have a special ability later in the game with their population that allows them to convert a portion of their manpower into science. So you get a percentage of your manpower converted to science in the mid to late game. And the more manpower that your empire has, the more science you get for free, essentially. So this building can actually produce us up to 30 science, potentially, in the mid to late game, as well as giving us 300 capacity for manpower at a really cheap cost. So it's pretty good. We're going to go ahead and do that. Also, you might remember our quest that we took at the earlier part of the game was to build 4 defensive military buildings. We'll build 4 of these pretty quickly as we get our 4th colony down here sometime in the next 10 turns. And that's going to be how we'll handle that. That'll give us a nice little reward. There's not much else we can do this turn. I think everybody's working on something useful, so we're going to go ahead and end the turn. Alright. Wow, another one? Where are these ones at? Oh, okay. That was the one that I sent the probe out to find. Cerebral reality's done. Public-private partnerships will be up next. That'll be good. It'll help our science accelerate a little bit. Move our ship. And we have several curiosities we've unlocked. Ooh. Okay. So we found Transvine, deciduous trees, and a quest. Explore the quest curiosity. Each expedition will cost 5 titanium. Pirate ship spawn on the... So we'll get a reward of a pirate ship. We don't have any probes currently, but we can wait and get some. This ship has 4 probes, and there's quite a bit that we could scout with them. I'm not sure that I want to launch all of them, but maybe launch one this way. I can see a lot of fog of war that way in the system over there. And launch one there, and there. And then we'll go ahead and save the last one and head down this star lane. Alright, so far so good. I'm going to go ahead and disband this ship for now. We're not going to use it for anything in the immediate future. Alright, so we've got the ability to talk to minor factions. We've unlocked Endless Research Park. We've completed our Miners Union. Population collection bonus. The first collection bonus just improves the scientist favor. So any event that would normally give favor to the science party gives more. Just makes it easier to keep the science party in power. 2 of our systems have grown in population. And we were the first one to build 20 star systems, so that's good. The 75 Jadonics is okay. Not as good as it could be because we don't have a natural income for it, so we're not going to really use it as a system improvement. However, I do believe the Sisters of Mercy can be boosted, and that would give us currently a total of 4 extra approval on our systems. 4 approval might be enough. So this system is only happy currently. So an additional 4 approval. We're currently getting +4 from the Sisters of Mercy. It would double to +8. That would give us 4 more. That would put us at 85%. I think that's worth it. So we had talked about that potentially being the case. I wasn't expecting it to happen right away, but sure enough, it did. So now we're back at ecstatic, which means we're producing a little bit more food and a little bit more influence in this system, and it's also contributing to a little bit higher overall empire approval, although I think we were still above loyal and into the devoted anyways. We've got a pro we can use. Okay, so we're gonna have to spend a little titanium for this, but I think this is worth it. So what did we end up getting? A titanium load and some influence and a ship. What kind of ship? So I'm not sure if I've shown this before. Sometimes you get these pirate ships as a reward. You do not have the ability to edit them, but if you want to see what they're equipped with in more detail, if you go to the military status screen and you identify the fleet, it'll show you the ships on it, and you can pick the individual ships in this menu down here. But if you look at a specific ship and you mouse over the module slots, it'll actually tell you what they're equipped with. So we have a titanium engine, basic fusion torpedoes, basic ultra-dense slugs, reactive plating, and basic ultra-dense slugs. So 2 slugs and 1 missile on this ship. Okay. I'm thinking... it's a tough decision. I have 3 pretty good systems for my next settle, and the Argosy is ready to settle again. Repair and upgrade selected ships. I'm pretty sure we already... I mean... we did not do that yet. Interesting. Okay. Argosy 2. So, I thought I had done this earlier, but we had, earlier in the game, unlocked this module, and so I went ahead and I made a design for the Argosy with 3 of these. I thought I had already improved it, but maybe that was a different game that I'm thinking of for some reason. But now our movement is 14, so we can get even further if we need to. And we need to decide whether we're interested in colonizing Brya, Centaurus, or Atlas. All of these systems are pretty good. Atlas is obviously not as good as the other 2, just due to the sheer lack of planets, but it does have a very special planet, our former homeworld. So it also has this planet with 2 subterranean curiosities, which makes me think that maybe we get lucky and roll 2 of the tier 2 strategics, just like we did with the tier 1s on some of the other planets. Um, the other option is we already have access to antimatter in this system, and we can grab adamantium from this system. This is a 5-planet system, so it won't be a bad system by any means. I think and then there's Centaurus. Centaurus has the Academy, which is nice. And there's a lot of curiosities in this system that could reveal some good stuff. We're not going to be able to get on Ariga right away. I would like to pick up the influence per pop from this, but we're not going to be able to get on that planet very quickly. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and settle this system first, and then we're going to send some scouts down here, scout as much of this territory as we can with a scout, and potentially make this our next colony. One of these two. You know what? I have thoughts for this. So we can go ahead and we can edit our Pirate Slayer. He's not very effective at slaying pirates at the moment. So let's just pull all of this off of him for the moment. And let's go ahead and convert him into a scout ship. Something like that. And that doesn't cost very much at all. And then we can go ahead and deploy him, and we can get him down here in just a couple turns, and then he can start searching some of these curiosities. Also, while we're at it, since we have all of this in influence, let's go ahead and grab a couple levels of this with all of the factions we can see. Yeah, and that will get them growing faster, and we'll get better relations with them, and then they'll start giving us more dust, which we really need. Dust and science are kind of bottlenecking us a little bit. Alright, so we've already dealt with the Argosy. The rest of our ships that need to move can move. What are we going to do with this shuttle? I guess we can just send this shuttle down here and try to get eyes on the pirates and see what kind of ships they're producing.
What can I do for you?
We can also look over here and we can see very clearly, yeah, this is identical to the previous fleet that we saw, I think, in the last 10 turns. So we need to, once we get our attack ships, we need to prepare ships specifically for what we're going to be encountering with these pirates. The Argosy can just go to sleep. And this scout, maybe we jump. Yeah, I think we do. Jump across to this other area here and scout this other constellation. Let's take a look. So the Argosy, 41 titanium, 41 hyperium, and 3,000, almost 3,100 dust. The dust is really the biggest bottleneck that we have, but we do have the ability to sell quite a bit and potentially get that cost, well, not the cost down, but get the dust we need to pay it. We're not going to be able to pay it right away, though. That is unfortunate. Okay, so there's a lot of pirates over here. We're gonna have to be really careful. Okay, we now have our ship design. We've picked up a new hero. We already have a scientist leader. And they're all seekers. So they're not going to have very different skills or ships. The ecologist party is not going to be in power for us anytime soon, but the pacifists probably are going to be for a while, and so having him as a leader of the pacifist party, there are some benefits to that. So of these three, he's probably the best one, unless we just really want the Vidyani tree, but I think this is probably fine. We've added a Harashims to one of our systems. Movement or health? I guess we'll take the movement. Found hydromiel. Okay, he's got one skill point. I think I'm actually going to make him a captain, fleet captain, and we're gonna give him the experience points on fleet to help him level up fleets. We'll send this ship over here for now. Assign him to a system. We can create a fleet. Let's create a fleet on our capital. And actually, instead of moving this ship that way, we'll move your ship to there. Let's edit this ship. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the pirates that we're facing. So the pirates that we're facing, they are equipped with missiles, and they don't have a large number of missiles, probably just one set of missiles, and so a single flak cannon, even an obsolete flak cannon, an old flak cannon, would be enough to probably stop any missiles. So we'll go ahead and equip a flak cannon for missile defense. In addition to that, they're using kinetic weapons, and so any weapons that we have that are better at long range than kinetic weapons should go in our other weapon slots. Because they're also rocking kinetics, missiles are a bad choice, so maybe we go something like this. And this gives us pretty good damage at long range and at medium range. Their ships are not going to be very effective until they get into short range, and we should have won the battle by then with this setup. We know that the vast majority of their damage is going to be kinetic, but I always like to have shields and kinetic when I can. So we'll go one of each. And then as far as speed is concerned, we could go with Hyperion. these ships tend to get damaged and blown up, so having a repair bot on them is actually a pretty good idea. Get some of your health back. And then having a probe is always helpful in a fleet, even if it's a military fleet. Just having a set of probes to scout ahead of you or to grab curiosities are a good idea. So this is probably a pretty good loadout for the immediate area that we're seeing. The pirates that we've seen, this ship will be mildly effective against them. The problem is we can't afford this. Yeah, it's going to cost us almost 200 dust, and we don't quite have the dust, so that was a kind of a big waste of time. We're going to have to sell some stuff. Let's go to the marketplace and let's get rid of any luxuries. We can sell... sell that. We can sell that. Sell the hydromial. That should be good for now. Alright, back to our hero. Back to your ship. Go ahead and remove those. And a repair module. 5. Alright, there we go. That's better. And then we should be able to get there pretty quickly. This ship can just wait. We've already done everything we need to for him. Okay, and now's a good time to jump into our combat tips. So our combat tips for today, we'll spend just a few minutes talking about our 2 new ship designs, the benefits of each, and some of the unique attributes of each. Before we do that though, I want to go ahead and switch my battle tactics. We talked about this a while back, and I really like barrage fire as my initial long-range battle tactic since we only use the center lane. It's pretty good. I think it's better than power to shields. Post-op analysis gives me the option of going into medium range, and turtle gives me the option of using a short-range tactic. Once I get my fleets built and I get more battle cards, I'll kind of look at what types of engagements I might be engaging in, and I might change them up. But for now, did it save it? It did not. I keep forgetting to save it. I think I've done this like 3 times now, and I keep forgetting to go confirm. There we go. Okay. That's not, once again, that's not what I wanted. It is, whatever. We'll make it work. Okay, so let's talk about the 2 military ships. The Attacker class ship and the Protector or Guardian class ship. We'll start with the Attacker class ships. So these are tier 1 ships. They're very similar to the Expedition class ships in both size and module slots and everything else, but they have a few unique features. Let's go ahead and jump in here. We'll just discard everything. Now, the first thing that I want to point out about this ship is that we have significantly more hit points. So our whole hit points, health of the ship, is 2,000 instead of 1,500, as is standard for most of the Expedition class ships. And that's one reason why these ships will generally win head-to-head in combat against the traditional expedition class ships. The other thing that I want to point out is that this ship has more manpower, and having more manpower doesn't really help you in space combat other than when dealing with boarding pods. We won't be dealing with boarding pods at this point in the game, but later on in the game it does become an issue. Having more manpower means that your ships are more resilient against boarding pod attacks, and so it's beneficial compared to the 40 that the other ships start with. They're very susceptible to being overrun by boarding parties. These ships have a little bit better time of not being overrun so easily, at least at the early stages of the game where people are using boarding pods. Finally, I want to point out what kind of slots we have, and you'll see we don't even have as many slots as the expedition ship in terms of just sheer stuff. So we have 2 offensive only slots, 1 defensive or support slot, and 2 support slots. We actually have fewer slots overall, and they're not as flexible as the expedition class ship. But we do have some advantages. Let's go ahead and look at the structural information. So this ship is named the Carve. That's the default name for this ship. For the Vultures, you can rename these ships if you want to. It is an Arrow class ship. It is an attack class role, and you'll see that from the little sword icon that you'll see when you look at the battle card. It is a small class ship, so it only takes 1 command point, and it has a hull weakness of 100, which is used in the calculation for defenses. An attacker class ship. Primary targets for an attacker class ship will always be protector and coordinator ships. So if the enemy has protector or coordinator ships in the flotilla that you are engaging, these ships will almost always fire at those first. Their secondary targets will be carrier ships. And so this is an important aspect of the game, particularly when fleets get larger, that you need to consider. Attacker class ships will target specific types of ships, and therefore if you're trying to take out specific types of ships, it's important to know which weapons to equip to which ships. So for example, if there's a carrier ship with lots of shields, then we would want to avoid using energy weapons against them, and we would want to equip our attacker class ships, which are more likely to target the carriers, with weapons that can bypass their defenses. So it's just another little subtle thing that you can use to your advantage if you know what you're engaging in. It has 2 bonuses that are specifically offensive bonuses. The first bonus is the focus fire, and what this allows all attacker class ships to do is they tend to target the same target with each barrage of weapons. This is particularly valuable when shooting missiles, because missiles can overrun flak defenses if you get enough of them engaging a ship at the same time. So having a whole bunch of missiles on a bunch of attack ships like this can actually overrun a ship that has flak defenses potentially, and you can still get quite a few missiles through the flak defenses. That's one way to kind of counter a ship that's using just a single flak cannon to defend against missiles. The ability to focus fire with multiple ships, not just the 2 missiles on this ship, but the 2 missiles on every attacker in that flotilla, is what makes that tactic effective. That also means that if you have a bunch of these ships in a flotilla, they're likely to bring down 1 target at a time very quickly. So instead of spreading the damage out amongst the entire engaging flotilla, they're going to focus most of their damage on a single target at a time. And then the other thing that they get is this offensive bonus. It's just a small but significant boost to your damage. And so if I put the same 2 weapons on this ship as I would, say, my expedition ship, my damage when I go to the detailed is going to be just slightly higher on all of these. This gets more and more impressive as you get better and better weapons, and so the greater the damage of the weapons, the more powerful this percent bonus actually becomes. But this ship with 2 guns and more hit points will actually outclass an expedition class ship of similar equip. So if we were equipped exactly the same with an expedition class ship, this ship would still significantly win that battle just based on the health and the slight advantage to damage from the offensive bonus. The other thing that this ship will do better is a flotilla of, say, 3 or 4 of these versus 3 or 4 expedition ships. The expedition ships will tend to spread their fire out evenly, while the attacker class ships will focus one ship at a time, and that is a big advantage in any engagement. Focus fire is a big advantage, so making sure that you're using these ships appropriately and in the proper quantities is what really makes for good flotilla engagements. Lots of these ships are important when you're trying to take advantage of the focus fire ability. Now, considering the enemies that we're dealing with, I think it's important. First of all, we're going to have to equip this guy with at least an engine. Maybe even this engine. But we'll start with this one. We definitely want long-range weapons, so I'm going to kind of go with a similar setup. And I'm going to leave this empty for now. And I'm going to put projectile defense here. We know that 100% of the weapon damage that we'll be engaging is projectile in nature, and since I'm not running a flak cannon to defend against missiles, having a little bit better defense against any missiles that might target this ship is probably the better choice. The shields, while they have a better chance of intercepting missile damage initially, they're only going to intercept a maximum amount of 270 points of damage. Once they've done that, the shields are pretty much knocked out and they're no longer useful. The nice thing about hull plating is that despite the fact that it has a lower absorption rate initially, it does not run out of the ability to absorb damage. And so if we're thinking that we're going to receive a lot of damage, particularly like in the form of missiles, this is definitely a better choice than shields. I'm a little concerned that missiles may target this, but I'm okay with not having a flak cannon on this ship, and I'll show you why in a moment. So I think this is the design I want. It's going to be relatively cheap, it's not going to cost any strategics, and we can always upgrade it later. So we're going to go ahead and apply that design. Those energy weapons are good at long range and medium range, and so we should be able to outclass and outdamage those pirate ships with our carves. Now let's take a moment and let's talk about the Protector class ship. The Protector class ship is a interesting ship. We'll pull off the modules real quick, and again we're going to look at health and manpower, and we can see this ship has even more health at 2500, so another 500 points of health. It has 100 manpower, just like the other attacker class ships, and it has a little bit different loadout here. So we actually have up to 4 potential support slots, similar to our expedition class ship, but we also have 2 defensive slots. And so that gives us the ability to equip both types of modules, which is a pretty good deal. The other thing that we can do is we could equip 2 of these. And equipping 2 of these gives us a little bit more health, but it also gives us much better hull plating absorption. And considering the enemies that we're engaging currently, this might be the better choice, because shields are going to be only mildly effective against missiles and kinetics. I do like having 1 of each though, so I think I'm going to go ahead and leave it with 1 of each, just in case we encounter anything else. We don't have to immediately worry about re-equipping this ship. The second thing that you'll notice is that this ship only has 1 offensive weapon. And that's a little bit of a problem. These ships are not very good for dealing damage. We'll talk a little bit about why that is. But with only 1 weapon slot, it really limits what kinds of things you can do with this ship. Let's talk a little bit about what this ship is all about. So it's a Bolt class ship. The default name is the NAR. It's a small class ship, so 1 command point. It is a Protector class ship, so this is important. Protector class ships' primary targets are the Attacker and Hunter class ships. Hunters are the medium-sized versions of the Attackers. They're the bigger versions. Just like Coordinators are the bigger versions of the Protector class ships. So they're going to target the high damage dealing ships with their weapons. Secondary targets will include Protector and Coordinator ships. They avoid fire on Protector and Coordinator ships. So that's good to know. They don't typically target carriers at all, and that's another important thing to remember. It's a Guardian class ship. What that means is that this ship will attract fire from the enemy to protect other ships. So this ship has a chance to basically intercept fire that would normally be directed at other ships. That is a really huge thing. And what that means is that you can use this ship as kind of a damage sponge, because it's going to attract most of the fire at the beginning of the combat. Because it's attracting most of the fire, you can equip it with the right defenses to enable it to prolong its engagement as long as possible, or maybe even survive the engagement altogether. And that allows your glass cannon ships, the Attacker class ships that we designed earlier, to stay in the fight longer and fire longer. I think I am actually going to go ahead and do double hull plating for now. We want this ship to survive as long as possible and soak as many missiles as possible. That being said, so you don't want to have too many of these in a fleet, and specifically in a flotilla. 1 Protector per flotilla is probably enough at the early part of the game when you only have 4 command points. So 1 Protector class ship and 3 Attacker class ships is the way that I like to build small fleets initially. As I get more command points, it gets a little bit different, and it really depends on how many flotillas I'm planning to engage with. But I like to have at least 1 Protector class ship in each flotilla when possible. Weapon choices. Let's talk about this real quick. The last thing is we get a 10% bonus to our hull plating and our shields, similarly to the offensive bonus of the Attacker ships. So hull plating and shields becomes a little bit more effective when you use them on Protector and Coordinator class ships. So that's important to know. The other thing is that there are special modules that can only be equipped on these ships. Things like the Debris Analyzer is one of them, and you'll see that in the battle cards. That'll tell you they can only be equipped on or installed on specific ship types. So that's good to know. Okay, let's talk about weapons. We don't have a lot of options for this slot, and so there are 2 schools of thought on how you equip this weapon slot. The first school of thought is doing something like this. Why would you want to put missiles on this? Well, 2 reasons. This ship is likely to be targeted by most of the enemy's incoming fire. And so what you want to do, if the rest of your fleet is engaging at long range, is you want this ship to be able to deal as much damage as possible in that first phase of combat before it's likely to be blown up. These ships tend to die quite frequently because they attract so much extra fire. It's kind of their purpose. And because of that reason, you don't want to typically make them super expensive. You kind of want to make them disposable. At the same time, you want this ship potentially to be dealing as much damage to the enemy as possible. And so in order to do that, you need to use a high damage weapon that is usable at long range. Missiles are obviously the best choice. However, in the case of the pirates that we would be engaging, a single firing module of missiles is going to easily be intercepted by the flak defenses and will deal almost zero damage at long range, medium range, or short range. So this is actually not a very good weapon when you're facing kinetics. If you're facing energy weapons, this would be a potential good choice. In fact, it might even be the best choice. But since we're facing kinetic weapons, beams. Beams have a long range damage of 9 per second, which is slightly better at long range than lasers. They also are effective at all ranges and pretty consistent. So beams are actually a pretty decent choice for your protector class ships. They will be able to deal at least a mild amount of damage in the early phases of the combat, particularly long range. Now, the final choice that you could equip these ships with is kinetics. And kinetics are kind of counterintuitive to a certain extent, based on the philosophy we just talked about, because kinetics are not going to deal any damage really in the long range phase of combat. They're just really, really poor at that range. So why might I equip this ship with kinetics? Well, if the enemy is going to be firing missiles at me, the kinetics are going to prevent the missiles from dealing any damage, which means that my shield ship is basically going to soak fire much longer than it normally would. In the case of the pirates that will be engaging in the near future, they're going to be shooting a small number of missiles at us. A single flak cannon will defend us against those missiles. That means that the only thing that they have left coming at us are some slugs, very similar to what we're dealing with right here. And those slugs are not going to deal very much damage to us at long range, and even less because of our double hull plating with our defensive bonus. This means that the rest of our ships are not going to be taking hardly any damage at all. This ship is going to be soaking all of the damage, all of the missiles. The flak defenses will take out the missiles. The hull plating will reduce any incoming damage that we do receive, and that will allow our attacker class ships to chew up the enemy with their long range lasers. This is basically a full-on defensive version of this ship. If we do happen to make it to late game or late combat, where we get into medium or we get into short range, these kinetics will start to do a little bit more damage, or a lot more damage potentially. But in the early part of the game, or the early part of the combat, at long range they won't be doing much but protecting us from missiles, which is what we want them to do. Again, these ships need to be disposable. You don't want to be putting a lot of modules that cost a lot of resources on them, because you're going to have to be rebuilding them quite frequently unless you just really outclass your opponents. And then in this situation, because they're going to be taking so much damage, if they do survive, having a repair module on them is actually a pretty good idea. It will allow them to recoup a good portion of the hit points that they might have soaked for the rest of your fleet. So this is a pretty good design to start with. This ship has not been modified. Apparently this is the actual starting design that we started with, so I don't actually need to do anything. So that's what we're going to go with. And that's going to wrap up our combat tips for today, unless we get into an actual battle. That's possible. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and build a NAR and about 2 or 3 cars. Should we build 2 or 3? We actually have that one pirate ship already we could use as our 4th ship in our 4 command point fleet. So maybe we'll just use that ship. We'll plan on just using that ship for now. This is going to take 7 turns. It might be a little bit less because when this completes, that'll give us 30 extra industry. But we can get those up and running and then get them over here to Rookbat, and we'll plan our invasion of this pirate area here. We got a lot going on over here that we need to deal with. I guess the question is, well, let's just go ahead and send him down one of these lanes. We've got lots of curiosities. And there's some down here, so we'll send him that way. We found adamantium and antimatter. Okay. The Argosy, we saw prices drop by about 300. And the strategics drop by about 3. So it'll be several more turns before we will be able to do anything with that. Go ahead and end the turn. Alright. We got some empty construction. What can we do down here? So in this system, we're pop capped currently. This is going to be a very bad planet for us to get on. -5 approval per population. I think we need to go ahead and get some more approval in this system, and then we can go ahead and colonize this planet. In fact, yeah, we'll go ahead and do that for now. What are the outputs on that system? 7 industry is pretty good. 6 dust isn't bad. I think we have a Harashim. We could send the Harashim over here and also get a little bit of food. We'll have to wait until we get that. Wait until we get that colonized before we bother. Okay, this system is getting close to being capped. What can we build, if anything? This is not very useful yet. We're at 85, so we are ecstatic still, but our next population is going to drop us below. This planet will get us a little bit of income of Transvine, and it will also allow us to start collecting the abundant deposit of antimatter, so I think that's probably our next improvement. People are happy with us, that's good. 50 titanium for 1 turn. Increase militarist political ideology. 50% chance of creating a major political crisis. Capture, assimilate, or attract a new population type into our empire. Ooh, show the location of these guys. Okay. These guys are really cool. So they give us dust. plus 25 per anomaly. Extra industry on fertile worlds and extra industry on any other world. I like this faction quite a bit. They're industrialists. Let's go ahead and give them a little bit of praise, and then search some curiosities for them. I've also met these guys. They, however, do not have any free curiosities, so we'll go ahead and plan on going this way. We found a ship. We found a pirate. And the pirate attacked our ship. Alright, well, let's see if we have a chance of winning here. So it looks like the positron's running one beam and one laser. So we have two guns, one beam and one laser. Those are going to be typically good at long range. The enemy ship is using lasers only. So we definitely want to engage at long range. Plus 2% damage at long range per enemy ship on ships, or plus 15 dust if we lose the engagement. I think we're going to go with this. He's got 2,000 hit points, and we have just a little bit more than that. And our weapons are a little bit more effective at long range. So I think this might actually give us the win. We'll go ahead and watch the combat just to see. Plus, we haven't really had much combat up to this point. Go to the overview. Here we go, long range. We should definitely outclass him at long range. So we're getting a little bit of damage in with our beams. Looks like our lasers are mostly hitting the shields at this point, but the shields will drop eventually. Alright, now we're moving to medium range. Both of our laser weapons are going to become much more effective at this range, so he's going to start to deal more damage to us. But we should still be outclassing him, and we'll definitely outpace him in terms of damage. I'm not sure if we're actually going to be able to destroy him, though. We've only got him down to about 50% health currently. He's going to stay at medium range for the last phase of combat. And so we might have a chance of finishing him off. Yeah, we'll finish him off. There we go. So once again, the most important thing to understand when you're dealing with combat is what are your weapons' effective ranges, and how do those compare to what the enemy is using. In this situation, we had better weapons at long range than he did, so we engaged him and forced him to fight at long range, which gave us a whole round of combat where he didn't do much damage compared to what we were able to do to him. And then the fact that we had two guns compared to his one equipped on our ship pretty much gave us the deciding factor. Alright, so we have a damaged ship now. Not really sure what to do with this ship. I think we'll just send it down this way and kind of scout along any lanes that this ship's not going on. The Argosy price is down to 2,666. We could sell quite a bit of our strategics if we needed to. We only really need 34. So 8. How much would 8? 8 would only net us about 200. Yeah. We could definitely do it if we sold some titanium. The question is, do we want to sell titanium or do we want to just wait another couple turns? I think we'll just wait at least a couple more turns. Maybe 1 or 2, but not too much more than that. Alright, grab that. Another reward. Eternal Sunshine. Binary Moon. Extra Science. And we definitely have those probes out that way and then head back over to Atlas. The Argosy can go to sleep for a turn. And we need a new technology. We're about to finish this one. I'm thinking we need to get on that barren world. So maybe grab that. Oh, we also needed steps, didn't we? Yes, we definitely need the steps. So that's this technology, and we'll move that in front there. So we're gonna have to wait 2 turns minimum in order to get the steps world, so that we can even colonize that system that we're hoping to colonize. I mean, technically we could jump on one of these other planets, but I think it definitely makes the most sense to initially begin on this large steps. Yeah, it's going to have the most resources and the most income of useful stuff. We don't have this technology yet, so we can't start mining it right now. But we'll get it soon. Oof, got all kinds of crazy stuff happening here. One of our laws was finally canceled. Our population got a little too big. Budokai bunkers has been researched. We now have all of these new military modules. So new lasers, new kinetics, new defensive modules, and a manpower module, which is useful. Alright, we're working on our NAR. More Vaulters. We found the Horatio homeworld. And we're being attacked. The Mashed didn't like us moving into their system. Um, we'll just go ahead and fight. This ship's gonna get destroyed rather quickly. Alright. I'm not sure how this is gonna go. The pirates 93, 138, 211, and 268. 93. Well, we're similar in capacity. Let's see if our battle tactic of long range is better than theirs. We'll see what they do. So we're going to see a similar fight to the last one. We'll start at long range, then they'll close to medium and hold that for the last two phases of combat. Alright. Our flak defenses should hopefully stop most of the missile damage. Unfortunately, they have equal numbers of flak defenses. Yeah, our hero ship went down rather quickly. Alright, we'll go ahead and skip the rest of this battle. There's not much more to see. Unfortunately, we did not even get a kill. It was close, but our hero ship went down really fast. That was kind of surprising. We just didn't have enough defenses for their missiles. That's unfortunate. 20 turns to recover. Well, we'll at least wait until our fleet is ready with our real ships before we try to bring you over there again. Lots of curiosities here. We're gonna grab them all. New battle tactic. Alright. Some Jadonics. Might have found a Jadonics trade partner. Gonna sleep. 2,400. I think we could probably get that now. We just picked up 5 of these, which is worth a little bit. How many strategics do we need? 31. So I can sell 20 of these. So if I go 20, that's going to be 500. And then if I sell like 20 of these, is that going to be enough? No, we need about 300 more. How much of that do I have to sell to get to 300? 40? Oof, that's a lot of titanium that I'm just gonna sell. What if I sold, like, 5 of this? And, like, 1 of this? Yeah, we're really close now. Okay, so now we only need to sell a little bit of titanium, though. So, like, 20. Like, 10? How about 15? How about that? Is that it? There we go. Oh, we don't have the tech yet. Well, we'll be ready to do it next turn. I totally wasn't paying attention. So we could totally settle on this turn, but I want to be on that step planet first. So we'll just wait one turn here. I think... Yeah. We'll go ahead and get that. Alright. Empty construction over here now. We need to get that for our quest. And since we have nothing better to do at the moment, it's 5 per luxury deposit. We really need population to grow. I think, you know what, we have enough curiosities now that this is actually going to be a net positive, so we'll go ahead and grab that. And we might even throw that in the queue too, just to get more industry and science from our basic buildings. We have the 15% bonus for holding the most colonies in our particular constellation, so that's cool. We have are we under attack? We are. Well, we're going to retreat. Confirm. Alright, we managed to get away. Calgaroos. We don't really want to wait here for the pirates to follow us, so I guess we'll just head over there. moving. Bunch of Gossamer. Atlas. Ooh. This system just got more tasty. An abundant and an average. Both really good. So we might be coming this way next with the Argosy. We'll wait one turn to grab the last curiosity here. And then we'll jump over there. And then to there maybe. How are we doing on our construction here? 4 turns. So we'll have our fleet done at the beginning of next game. And since we lost our ship, I guess we'll add on another carve for now. We can also throw that in there for a little bit more science. This will actually save us a turn of upkeep cost on this Gnar. 2 more planets we could colonize. We'll wait till we get our fleet done. We do need to get this put in the queue just so we don't forget about it later. And infinite supermarkets are also going to need to be done to keep us above ecstatic. We're getting close to the end of this particular video. Oh yes, our new system. By far the most important thing that we can get done. Drone network, cerebral reality are both key. Then we'll get these done. Maybe even in that order. Budokai bunkers will finish our quest. And we'll wait and see what else we need to do. Yeah, this is a temperate world, so getting this building up quickly is ideal. All right. Just a couple more turns. We'll try to get this knocked out quickly. We're getting a lot of updates and messages. We need to pick a new technology. We need more friends. We now have a sovereign. We've got a pirate mark, and we're being attacked again. Well, I guess we'll lose our scout ship. That's unfortunate. Lots of curiosities. Hyperium deposit, good. Transvine. More Hyperium. And a bunch of loot. And a quest. We got a new ship with some Horatio on it. Horatio are notoriously fond of hot worlds. If we can get these Horatio over here without dying, that would be fantastic. We had one more curiosity over here to search. We'll take the science hit. Lunar Surveillance Station. Plus 15 science per lunar anomaly on system. Huh. Okay. We're gonna go over here. Wait for probes. Ah yes, we need to pick a new science. Technology screen time. So I think it's time to start grabbing the technologies so that we can start mining the adamantium and the antimatter. This particular technology gives us predictive logistics, which is just a really, really good building. And then we'll grab that one next. And then we'll need one more in this tier. Probably more than one, truth be told, but one more in this tier in order to unlock the next system development, which I think we're going to rush into. Alright. Let's go ahead and let's see who's grumpy.
Your contact with us brings more worry than joy.
They have a nearby outpost that they've dropped somewhere. Oh, here it is. Okay, well, we might have some words with you about that.
Come to pry on the most stunning man in the galaxy again?
See what he has to say about that.
Horatio doubts your motives and your ethics. We also deplore your lack of refinement.
Well, let's go ahead and reduce the cost of going to war, because I think that's probably what we'll end up doing. Also, we have 2 law slots. Dirty Hands Act costs 16. We should be able to pass this law again. That will get our system improvements up a little bit quicker. And still have a healthy influence income. Everybody's ecstatic, so we don't need to worry about that. The sheer number of these. Alright. Sovereign with those guys. We've got probes to use. Yes, indeed.
The Vodiani and our church acknowledge you.
Alright. We've discovered the Vodiani. And the Unfallen.
Of the heart.
It must have been on this system. They must have had a ship or a scout or something. Alright, one more turn and we'll end the video for today. I hope you guys are enjoying this series. I am going to continue it a little bit longer, show off a little bit more of how I would equip my ships for engaging in combat with an enemy that I'm familiar with. When you're unfamiliar with your enemy, it's a little bit trickier, but when you know the kinds of fleets that they're fielding, it becomes a little easier to counter what they're doing. And you saw me do it earlier.
What can I do for you?
You can check out what the pirates are building. You can see what kinds of fleets they're preparing. And so by looking at that information, you can prepare your fleets for the pirates if pirates are a problem for you. It's a little trickier with the enemy AI players, but they're fairly predictable. And once you get the hang of fleet development and basically ensuring that at the very least you're dealing significant damage so that you're both taking losses and you can win kind of a battle of attrition that way, it gets a lot easier. It just boils down to making sure that you're using your fleets and your flotillas at their effective ranges with the right weapons. Alright, we're getting a good portion of that. Improved relations with a couple more miners. Oh, and we recently got the ability to colonize barren worlds. This world is actually worse, -8 per pop, but it's going to give us 10 influence, and that influence is going to allow us to accelerate. So we got a bunch of influence again. I can't afford to do that here. Yeah, we still got a couple more turns before the costs of these wear off and reduce. So we'll wait. Any of them? Yeah, these ones as well. So a couple more turns before we'll be able to use the influence we have. I want to wait until the costs come back down and we can spend a bunch of influence on getting these guys going a little bit further in our favor. We've got another one here. Behemoth Song. What is that one? Interesting. 5 dust, 3 approval, 50 more influence. Go ahead and head over here. That is weird. I don't know what I did. I've never done that before. That was really weird. Yeah, I kind of grabbed it weird like that. I don't know. Huh. Okay, well, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. We will be trying to deal with pirates in the very near future. We've already got our fleet partially completed, and we talked a little bit about our fleet design and how to specifically counter the pirate fleets that we know are coming our way. So the next video, hopefully we'll get a little bit of experience with the combat tactics, and we'll get to demonstrate that a little bit more. We might also get into talking a little bit about invasions and trying to stomp out this pirate system that's causing me some nuisances. So I look forward to doing the next 10 turns with y'all. I hope you're enjoying the series, and we'll see you next time.